What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon. Co-hosting with me today is
your boy, Jake Bowles on the mic 1, 2.
What's up, everyone? We had a very wild, super wild card weekend. A lot of good football, a lot of heartbreak, especially for me. But, doing okay. Just trying to look forward, enjoying the rest of the football season. It was enjoyable. I know Jake's happy. He got to see his team compete in the first half. It seemed like it was going to be very challenging for some reason, and then it was just a total blowout, and his team stepped up. So good for the 49ers and the other teams that won. Congratulations to your guys' teams. We'll be talking about all of them. We're going to recap Super Wildcard Weekend. If you guys aren't already, give us a follow on our Instagram at Cannonballs with a Z_podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Jake, you have anything to add before we get going?
What was your game of the week? Or game of the weekend. What was your favorite game?
Ooh, honestly, I kind of want to say it was the New York Giants-Minnesota game. That was one of the most entertaining because it was kind of going back and forth, and then New York kind of took the helm. Then, I think Baltimore Bengals was also a good one. Buffalo, Miami, they're all good.
Yeah.
I would say the Sunday slate was definitely more enjoyable, like football-wise. Because with your game, it was a good half, and then it was a blowout. So it wasn't as entertaining unless you're a 49ers fan. My game, it was literally the tale of two halves, like all Chargers one half, all Jags the next half. So it wasn't like back and forth. It wasn't like super competitive, it felt like. It just felt like one team was hot, one team wasn't. And then Sunday slate was just back and forth with every team. So I would say all the Sunday slate games were probably my favorite. But I really think I enjoyed the New York Giants game mostly because they beat a 13-4 Minnesota team who had a negative point differential given. But, they looked good. They were a one and done. You called it. Good job to Jake, everyone. So Saquon looked good. Daniel Jones looked great. We'll get into the games, but yeah, I would probably go with that one. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah, I definitely think that was even the Bills-Dolphins one. That one was very close, but I guess I'll agree with the Giants-Vikings one being the best game of the week. Obviously, worst game of the week, fucking Tampa Bay getting blown out to the Cowboys, but we will get into that. So let's start with the first game of the week. Dane, we got the 49ers stomping out the Seahawks 41-23. And like you said earlier, it was a very close game. It was a close back and forth game for the first half. We took the lead with 25 seconds left in the or something like that. Was it 9 seconds?
I think it was like a minute because Seattle ended up making a last-minute field goal because of a bad personal foul.
Yeah, so bad personal foul, gave them 15. They made the three. They go by one, and then they walk off. They run off the field, acting like they won the Super Bowl, and then the rest is history. And it was funny because there's a lot of missed calls in this game, and I think the biggest one was when Jonathan Abrams yanked Debo's leg, and I guess reading all the Niners stuff pissed him off, pissed the whole team off. There was almost a fight on the field, and from that moment on, it was just it went the 49ers' way. They went and scored that drive, and then the next Seattle drive, they got the first turnover of the game, and it was just all uphill for the 49ers, all downhill for the Seahawks. Biggest takeaway, everyone was just firing on all cylinders. Brock Purdy had himself a game. If you aren't believing in Brock Purdy yet, you probably should. At first, he looked a little shaky. It's his first playoff game. It's expected. But, he had like 2 or 3 bad throws that probably could have been intercepted. And then after that, and that was like probably in the first quarter, probably the first 3 drives. And then after that, he was just he was hot. Like,
If
he could
that
not be stopped.
If that one catch to Brandon Ayuk, if Ayuk would have caught that one pass, that was a dart right on the money. Like, you cannot throw a better ball than what Brock Purdy threw to Brandon Ayuk in the corner of the end zone. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. If you guys haven't seen that play, like Dane said, beautiful. Like, he moves to the left, runs all the way to the field, turns back, moves all the way to the right. It looked like the catch. If you're a 49er fan, you obviously know what that is. And, you know, he hit Ayuk right between the numbers at the corner of the end zone on the right side of the field, or on the right side of the end zone. And, man, he dropped it. He would have had 4 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. I mean, Brock Purdy's stats, 18 for 30, 332, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he had a rushing touchdown. And then, you know, the stars just came to play. Christian McCaffrey balled out. Deebo Samuel balled out. Ayuk balled out. You know, George Kittle didn't have statistically a fantastic game, but he, you know, he's a blocker, man. Like, all those big runs, he was in on every one of those big run plays, him and Ayuk. And, you know, they were just laying down blocks, mowing people over. And like I said, the whole team was just firing on cylinders. And you know what? Kudos to the Seahawks for making it interesting for the first half. Man, it feels good. I mean, they haven't played the Seahawks in the playoffs since 2013 when, you know, the famous try me with a sorry-ass receiver post-game conference by Richard Sherman game. So it was good to get revenge on that. And, yeah, I mean, the 49ers look good. I think the one thing I could critique on this game, you know, the defense, the last 3 games have started off very slow. You know, and it's a long season. They still came up with turnovers when it mattered most, I think. They still made a lot of plays. It's just like, it's not as dominant, I think, right now. So that kind of, you know, hopefully they'll dial up when they play the Cowboys next week. But, yeah, other than that, it was just a complete game for all around coaching, running, throwing, everything. So you got anything to say about it?
Yeah, you know, I do want to touch on Seattle a little bit. Like we both said, it was a tale of one half. I mean, they didn't play a full game. They played a half. Geno Smith looked good in the first half. DK Metcalf was having himself a game. Kenneth Walker looked good. But, you know, in the second half, that's when the 49ers defense stepped the F up. I do want to say one thing. Like, Brock Purdy looked great. I just can't get over how good Shanahan's scheme is, though, because, I mean, he can literally scheme open receivers so easily in this offense. But, I mean, it's also hard because you have to worry about Ayuk, Deebo, Kittle, McCaffrey. I mean, McCaffrey, I think, was your leading receiver, if I'm not mistaken. No, he was not. He was the leading rusher. Deebo had himself a game. But, yeah, man, this team is scary. I mean, the 49ers are for real. I would not be surprised if they head back to the Super Bowl. Dallas finally did break their curse. They got a good challenge ahead of them, but, you know, they get to play at home. We'll see, because this will be Brock Purdy's, like, real test, I would say, against a good defense. Because, I mean, no matter how good Dallas shows up offensively, their defense usually shows up. So I'm not too concerned. I think they'll be fine. But, you know, it was just a good, dominant win by the 49ers. I don't really have too much else to say.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Moving on to the next opponent. Let's get into the next game, though. Dane. Unfortunately, we had one of the biggest comebacks in playoff history.
Third largest, yep.
Yeah, third largest, and
first time in NFL history that a team with a +5 turnover differential lost. So the Chargers made history, not in a good way. Asante Samuel Jr. had the game of his life in the first half. 3 interceptions. I will say they were not calling penalties. The first interception should have been PI, if not illegal contact, but they were letting them play. I kind of respect that for the refs, and, you know, it also happened to the Chargers in the second half. So I can't get too mad about that. Honestly, I think this game came down to coaching, because one coach made great adjustments at halftime in Doug Peterson, and then one coach couldn't adjust on the fly, which was Brandon Staley.
Sorry to interrupt real quick, but it's funny because we were texting at the half, and I said, if the Chargers can score one more, it might be over. And then you said it best. You said Doug Peterson, he's a good coach. He's gonna come back with adjustments, and we'll see. And unfortunately, you were right.
Yeah, I just know the history of the Chargers. Unfortunately, it's a cheap organization. Unfortunately, with Dean Spanos, I mean, he is bottom 5 in terms of wealth in ownership of a professional football team. I'm not saying that he's not rich. I mean, he's still got millions and millions and millions. But it's fair to point out. I mean, Brandon Staley's only making $4 million a year, so he's going to lean on the cheaper side. And just let me get into the players a little bit actually, and then I'll come back to coaching. Defense looked amazing. They were sitting on the routes in the first half, expecting everything, coached really well. Offense was rolling here and there. Justin Herbert looked pretty good through, I'd say, the first quarter and a half, and then things started to kind of die down. And I want to say, like, Eckler, Herbert, Allen, they looked great. Donald Parham got utilized. Gerald Everett had a really good game. Gerald Everett probably had one of his better games that he's had. I think he had 109 yards, leading receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, he was 109 and a touchdown, and he was the leading receiver. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so yeah. So they looked good in the first half. But I noticed as soon as the Jags scored that first touchdown right before half, the momentum shifted. And so when the momentum shifted, the Chargers just didn't have any answers in the second half. And they started playing cover 3. They started playing soft zone instead of man, which they were utilizing. They were mixing it up in the first half. They didn't seem to really mix it up. Not only that, I'm going to get into the coaching now. Brandon Staley needs to do a better job with clock management. I understand the run game is not working, but this is also on Herbert. Herbert was running plays with 10, 15 seconds left on the play clock. Excuse me. You got to bleed it out. You have to bleed out the clock in this situation. You're up still by 20 points. That's a good lead. You were up 27-0 and you blew it. It's just unbearable to watch. Joe Lombardi needs to be fired. His scheme is not working. It's too much shallow crosses. It's too behind the sticks. It's the type of play call and play design where you want to get into third and short. But if you're a good offensive coordinator, you want to think beyond the sticks. You want to get ahead of the sticks in terms of you want to complete 8 yards on the first down, possibly even get a first down on the first play of the drive. You want to stay ahead of the sticks. You don't want to get backed up and try and get these third and manageables, because that's not an offensive scheme or identity. That is just putting the ball in Herbert and asking him to do too much, because if your receivers can't get separation, you're asking Herbert to do too much. You're you're constantly having him do all these third down conversions. Eventually you're going to fuck up. And that's what happened. This offense couldn't get driving. Dicker missed a crucial kick, 40-yarder. He made a 50-yarder right down the center, looked beautiful, and then Shanks a 40-yarder. So he could have had that. Brandon Staley, they were in the red zone twice on 4th and 3, 4th and 5. They decided to kick a field goal. Brandon Staley literally went polar opposite this year of being super aggressive to super conservative. And if you're an experienced head coach, there's no way you blow a 27-point lead. You just shouldn't. You need to be able to think on the fly. And, I blame coaching in this, because players played excellent in the first half. Obviously, a coaching schematic change happened with the Jaguars, and they could not adjust. I blame coaching with players messing up here and there. But I think the emphasis should be mostly on the coaching for this loss. But okay, let me get to the Jags. They did great. Not taking anything away. Trevor Lawrence erased every interception he had, 4 interceptions before he threw 4 touchdowns. So good on Trevor Lawrence. ETN looked good. Ingram balled out, and the defense stepped up in the second half. I'm sorry that I didn't talk much about you Jaguar fans. It's my team, though. So, Jake, I'll let you take the reins now.
Yeah, I'll talk a little about the Jags. Trevor Lawrence, it looked absolutely pathetic in the first half. I was like, this is the number 1 overall pick. This is a generational talent. And then, boom, something switched. And they, like you said, they adjusted. They switched it up because what they were doing wasn't working. And it was a lot of shallow, like kind of crosses, I think. And I don't know.
They started running a lot more like screenplay as well.
Yeah, so it it obviously worked. Trevor Lawrence looked great in the second half. ETN, that play where it was 4th and 1 or whatever, and
he bounced out to secure the win.
Yeah, they faked the quarterback sneak and do the bounce out with ETN. That was just beautiful. Great coaching. I didn't have a whole lot of faith in Doug Peterson when he came in. I knew he won a Super Bowl. He was a great coach that year. But there's been plenty of coaches who've won one Super Bowl and then just mediocre every other year, or been to a Super Bowl and just mediocre every other year. He's completely changed this team around, and this is a milestone victory for the Jaguars franchise. I think they can definitely move forward. I mean, they're going to only get better next year. They're, like I said, they're getting Calvin Ridley on top of all these other weapons they have. I like where the Jags are heading. I want to ask you, as a Chargers fan, when did you know that like this was done? Like, when did you know like the Chargers were gonna blow it?
I would say when they scored their second touchdown. I knew as early as that because of how much the momentum shifted. They had a quick 3-and-out to start the second half. Then a quick score for Jackson, or not a quick score, but it was a good drive and it was pretty quick. And then the Chargers had a couple first downs, but as soon as like they punted again, I would say that's when I knew, because it's like we just can't do anything at this point.
Yeah, that's funny because I was thinking about the same time too. Like the first touchdown, I was like, oh, okay, they got a score. At least they'll make it, maybe interesting. The Chargers will probably get another couple scores, but I mean, they got outscored 25 to.
They got, so the final score was 31. So they scored 24 points to 3 in the second half, 24-3.
Yeah. I mean, I did not expect that. But like you said, once they got that second score, I was like, oh, the Chargers are going to blow this. And they fucking did, man. And it's, you're my best friend, and it just sucks that your team, they pulled an Atlanta Falcons. Not nearly as bad because it's way worse to do it in the Super Bowl, but it was just a bad loss. Before we move on, I just real quick, what's the as a fan, what's the percentage? What are the percentages for Brandon Staley getting fired and the Chargers pursuing Sean Payton?
I'd say 0%. The reason
0% getting fired?
Yeah. The reason being, so Dean Spanos as an owner is very cheap. And when I say cheap, we're talking millions, but like he's not going to pay a $20 million contract to Sean Payton, who's also going to require 2 first-round picks from the New Orleans Saints since they still own the contract rights to him. I definitely think that there's going to be movement within the coaching staff. I think Lombardi's out. At least he should be out. I'm not sure about Ronaldo Hill because Staley was kind of in charge of the defensive scheme. I kind of like Ronaldo Hill. I think that if Staley can focus more on the actual game instead of just coaching the defense, they have a better shot. I think Staley should be gone, to put it frankly. You cannot blow a 27-point lead. That's just unacceptable. Clock management was poor. Game decisions were poor. He claims to be a defensive guru, but just can't seem to make adjustments. They had one of the worst second half offenses out of any team in the NFL, which shows that they cannot make adjustments. They had, I think, a 5 or 6 game streak where they never scored a touchdown in the third quarter. So I think a lot of it's on Lombardi. I think most of it's on Lombardi, but Staley definitely plays a factor. And maybe it comes with experience. I mean, he didn't coach, and this is his first NFL coaching job. He was only in the NFL, I think, like 2 or 3 years as a defensive coordinator before he got the job. I think he was a linebackers coach in Chicago, then a defensive coordinator with the Rams, and then he got the job with the Chargers. So very intelligent guy, but just lacks game smart, I would say.
All right. Well, sorry about your team, but you know what? There's always next year. Let's move on to the Sunday games.
Let's do it. These are the fun ones.
Yeah, these are the more fun ones, I will say. But yeah, no, there's no buts. These were more fun. First game on the Sunday slate, we had Buffalo Bills narrowly beating the Miami Dolphins 34-31. And I just want to say this. The Dolphins win this game if Tua is playing. I'm not saying he should have played, obviously. Concussion, you need to take that seriously. But if they were more fortunate and lucky to have Tua in that game and everything goes the exact same way, the Dolphins win this game. The Bills, they've looked really good at the first quarter. I think they went up 17-0. And then after that, it was just... a couple broken plays on the Dolphins defense and all that, but I mean, they still scored, but I don't know. They just didn't look good. The interceptions on Josh Allen, I don't think they were necessarily his fault. If I think about it, I think one of them was for sure his fault. How many interceptions do you have? Two? Three? Two, yeah. So one of them was just if I remember correctly, it was a tip pass. Yeah, it was a tip pass, and then the other one was kind of his fault. The thing, I'm kind of him and Mac Jones. I'm kind of starting to like less. They're kind of D-bags. Like that play where he starts pushing the line
or the defensive lineman.
The dude from Clemson.
I mean, he in defense of the defensive lineman, he literally gave the most benign block to Allen. Like he was respecting him, just kind of like gave him a little push and then like held his hand out, and then Allen went up to him and like started talking smack.
Yeah, no, that and then the announcer said the rules like if the quarterback doesn't engage in blocking, then he's protected. But as soon as he engages in blocking, the defensive players can do whatever the F they want to him. So that whole fight was his fault. I don't think Christian Wilkinson, is that his name? What's his name? I'm going to find his name. Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins should not have been penalized. That should have been a penalty strictly on the Bills, I believe. But I see a lot of this from like Mac Jones. I don't know why they think they can just kick people in the nuts or start fights with linemen and get away with it. Is it because you think you're a quarterback and you're protected all the time? This is why nobody really likes quarterbacks. If you're a defensive player, just kind of sissies. But other than that, it was a good game. Skylar Thompson. Oh, sorry about that. Hit one of the springs on my arm. Skylar Thompson did okay.
He made some pretty good throws. Yeah. I will say that, but he did also have the two costly interceptions. Yeah,
the two interceptions. But I think the story of this game is the drops. Yeah. I mean, holy crap, dude! Jalen Waddle would have had over 150 yards receiving, and he ended up with 44 yards receiving. So that was very unfortunate. Yeah, it was just a close game. And another big takeaway is clock management. They could not get the ball off. It was embarrassing.
Is it because Mike McDaniels was hitting his vape?
What do you think he's smoking? Do you think it's nicotine or do you think it's some marijuana?
No, I don't know, man. Mike McDaniels looks like he probably smokes.
He looks like a stoner.
Mike McDaniels looks like the head coach's son who's like interim head coach for a month and just like fucking around.
He's like, yeah, guys, just go out there and play. To me, it looked like a jewel. I mean, honestly, like if I was a head coach, I would be freaking ripping some vapes too, because that shit's stressful, man.
Hell yeah.
I wonder if he's going to get fined for that though, honestly, because I'm sure.
I don't know if there's going to be enough to prove that he did.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even see any vape come out.
Yeah, he probably ghosted it, but you definitely see him.
He just like French inhales like nothing. Yeah,
duck lip that motherfucker. But I think the biggest storyline here is the Dolphins defense came to play this game. The Dolphins defense got after Allen. They made this a game. Skylar Thompson did enough, I would say, but they couldn't get much going on the ground. They couldn't do too much receiving. Tyreek Hill had a couple big catches, but this defense definitely kept them in the game. And I'm starting to think that Brian Dable was really, I'm not trying to take anything away from Josh Allen. I still think he's an elite quarterback, but he seems more reckless than he was when Dable was there. I mean, Josh Allen is still making like beautiful throws. Like, dude, he's making some unrealistic throws, but he's also putting the ball in harm's way more frequently than I feel like he did last year. And I don't know how much of that is Dable, but you know, this game was a good one. You know, it was competitive division rivalry. Not too much to complain about. It was a fun one. And, you know, Buffalo, I think, is the better team. But like you said, if Tua was in there, it could have totally been a different story. I know you think it would have been a different story. I think that
I know it would have been a different story.
See, I don't know if I would be there yet. I think it's a safe assumption to say that the Dolphins probably would have been better, but you still had drops. Like, even if Tua placed the ball perfectly, who knows if Jalen Waddle would have dropped them, or Tyreek or Gesicki or whoever, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the Dolphins would have been more competitive, even though they were competitive. I mean, they've beaten this team before. They know how to play them. So I think it would have been. I think it would have been closer. I mean, it was very close to begin with, or to start. So, and that was with Skyler. I don't know. I just think the Dolphins take it. But you know what? I mean, what can you do? You know, you play with who you got, and you know the Bills, the better team, won. So, yeah, no, good job.
I do want to give credit to Mike McDaniel really quick. I mean, he dealt with a lot of injuries this year, especially with the quarterbacks, and he kept his team competitive. Even though they had losing streaks, they were still competitive. So I do want to shout out Mike McDaniel, you know, coach's son, interim head coach for a month, smoking weed on the sideline, smoking vapes, whatever he's doing. Brother. You know, easily the funniest head coach I've ever seen in interviews and stuff.
Yeah, I miss him. I am proud that he, you know, took the team to the playoffs. Real fun fact, though, you know, I saw this thing on Instagram. The Dolphins season was very symmetrical. They went 3-0, lost 3, won 5, lost 5, won 1, lost 1. So
that is insane.
Yeah. So it was pretty
NFL
cool.
is scripted, ladies and gentlemen.
Scripted, baby.
Even Trevor Lawrence admitted it in his post-game interview. Couldn't have scripted it any better. Congratulations, NFL. You are busted.
Yep. So the Bills have a date with the Bengals next week in Buffalo. So that should be a really good game.
And hopefully every player stays safe in that game. I know that they'll probably come and do a little prayer before the game just because of the whole DeMar Hamlin incident. But yeah, it should be an exciting one for sure. At least we finally get to see that game.
All right, next game. We got probably our favorite game of the weekend. The New York Giants, and I guess it's technically an upset, but I mean, we did pick the Vikings to win, but I think we were just lazy with it and we didn't, you know, trust our guts. And for the record, folks, we picked the 49ers to win. We both picked the Chargers and we both picked the Bills. So we are 2-1.
And now we're going to be 2-2.
Yeah. So we didn't do too hot this weekend.
I think those were the only 2 losses we had. Oh, no, never mind.
Yep.
One more. We'll get to.
So, you know, we didn't pick. We picked one upset, but we didn't pick the right team. So the Giants, you know, they came out and they were hot, bro. They beat the Vikings. What did I say? 31-24. And honestly, like, it wasn't bad. It was good quarterback play from both teams until the last drive for Kirk Cousins. I mean, 4th and 8, and you throw a 3-yard out route. Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry to get angry, but this is why nobody ever believes in the Vikings. This is why nobody believes in Kirk Cousins. It's because of bullshit like this. You know, and my family-in-law, they're all Minnesota Vikings fans, so I kind of like root for them a little bit just because I like to see them happy or whatever. But you know, God fucking damn, dude, Kirk Cousins, your card is revoked.
Dude, it took me a sec to realize what you were referring to.
If you guys
can no longer wear the chains anymore, baby.
Your chains, they're back. Your card is revoked. You are sitting in the back of the plane on the way home. Nobody's talking to you.
Nah, bro, he's getting a one-way plane ticket from Southwest, or no, from Spirit Airlines on the way home to
Spirit Airlines.
Minneapolis.
He's taking a Greyhound back home. Oh wait, no, this was in Minnesota, so I guess he doesn't have to go too far. But all the credit in the world to the Giants.
Dable, baby.
Yeah, Dable. No, I mean, I still would like Coach Kyle Shanahan to get Coach of the Year because he didn't get it. Like, he's built the 49ers up from the ground up. Like, they had nothing when he got there, and he never got the award, and I think he's deserving. But after this year, I got to give it to Dable. I mean, especially with this win. I mean, I don't know if they consider the playoffs in these awards. I don't think they do, or at least they're not supposed to. But, dude, I mean, my biggest problem with the Giants all year was the wide receivers, and they balled out. They got open. Richie James looked like, a stud, man.
Isaiah Hodgins, bro.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hodgins.
Please tell me who. If anybody knows that and you're a Giant or you're not a Giants fan, I'll give you $10. No, he had 105 yards, a touchdown.
Darius Slayton looked good. Saquon was dude. That one run by Saquon in the red zone, like that 20-yard run to the left side, beautiful, beautiful, and that spin move he had, dude. Saquon, I'm happy for him, dude, because he was such a high draft pick and then considered a bust because of his injuries, and he's proving everyone wrong. And dude, I like watching this team play. And Daniel Jones easily had the best game of his career by far.
He was the MVP of the game. Jeez, man, like, he balled out, and there was like a point in the game where they did like 5 runs with just Daniel Jones, and we kind of forget how good of a runner Daniel Jones was, and we remember him for tripping and falling on a freaking what would have been like a 90-yard rushing touchdown that one game a couple years ago. But he's a good runner, man. He's a good runner, and he was like
too.
He was decisive with his running, like on passes. Like, he just saw an opening and took it like immediately. I loved it. And you know what? You got to give credit to the coaching, because good coaching can unlock your ability. Sometimes you can have all the talent in the world, all the weapons in the world, but if you don't have coaching, you're just running around there with your head cut off.
Yeah, Dable has definitely unlocked Daniel Jones, and I love to see it because everyone was writing Daniel Jones off too. Fumble problem, inconsistent, inaccurate. Brian Dable comes in 1 year and turns this franchise around with nobody. Me. Yeah, with me too. With no receivers, this team beats Minnesota. And let's go to the other side of the ball. Minnesota's defense is fucking atrocious. They could not stop anything. We thought this defense was going to be good. This defense was terrible.
I didn't realize how bad they were, but I've brought up the NFL defenses or their rankings for the season, and the Vikings were hold up. Yeah, they were like the 31st ranked defense. That's terrible.
Dude, the Giants only punted the ball twice. I just want to say that really quick. And they didn't punt the ball a single time in the first half. First half started touchdown, field goal. Yeah. Didn't punt a single time.
On the Minnesota side of the ball, I would have liked them to get Justin Jefferson involved more. TJ Hawkinson had himself a game.
Yeah, he balled out. TJ Hawkinson balled out.
That was definitely a great pickup for them during the season. It didn't pan out to anything. You know, they're one and done in the playoffs. I mean, we all expected it. You saw the turnover differential. You saw how they lost. I mean, at least this time when they lost, it was close. I mean, they only lost by 7 points, right? Yeah, 7 points. So at least it was somewhat. It was close. It wasn't a blowout. I just don't know where the Vikings go from here. I mean, they got to improve that defense for sure. I mean, and you got to seriously look at your team and be like, is Kirk Cousins going to lead us to a Super Bowl? Because this was his best year. This was his best statistic year, and he throws it away on 4th and 8 with a 3-yard out route. A 3-yard out route? Motherfucker, just throw it up to Justin Jefferson. Sorry for the pardon my French, but bro, like, you know, even if you're about to get sacked, the season is on the line. Give your wide receiver a chance to go up and get it. Just fucking throw it down there. Pull a Patrick Mahomes. Fuck it. Justin Jefferson somewhere down there somewhere, right? Yeah, I mean, the Vikings got a lot to work to do. And, you know, no one ever really believed in them, I don't think, unless you were a Minnesota fan and then you're just crying your eyes out. But, you know, it was a great game. Good upset for the Giants. The Giants have a date with Philadelphia. And it was actually awesome because, you know, the Giants beating the Vikings, you know, gets the 49ers a date with the Cowboys now. So, you know, it's going to be a fun matchup for both NFC matchups. Actually, all 4 games are going to be good. But yeah, no, congratulations, Giants. You got anything else to say about this game, Dave?
No, let's move on. I'm excited to see the Giants play Philadelphia. I think that's actually going to be a really good game, especially if Daniel Jones plays the way he does.
Dude,
Bravo to New York. Bravo to New York.
If they can play like they played against Minnesota, it's not out of the ballpark for them to upset Philly. It's not at all. I mean, I think they can do it. They just have to play like they did and better. But, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles are a different beast, and we will get that on. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode. But, all right, for the last matchup on Sunday, this was a great game. Surprisingly, actually. I didn't think it was going to be this good. But we got the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Baltimore Ravens 24-17. And just like the Dolphins Buffalo Bills game, I think the Ravens win this game if Lamar's in. And again, I know Lamar's hurt, and I respect him for taking care of his body and not risking his career for, you know, a playoff game. You know, live to fight another day. And I respect that. I don't think he should have played, honestly. And especially without getting a contract, hell no. So I respect Lamar.
Can I interject really quick? I know you say they would have won with Lamar. They should have won this game regardless with Huntley.
Oh, yeah.
Because he fumbled the ball away on the 1-yard line. You can't do that. But sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, for sure. Like, I think if it's Lamar, he doesn't do that. You know, I think they win with Lamar. But you know what? Hindsight's 20/20. I think the Ravens should have won this game regardless. I think 2 of the best teams playing today or on Sunday played ugly, could have lost, probably should have lost, and they squeaked out wins. You know, the Bengals were neck and neck with the Ravens until that 99-yard fumble recovery, which was so stupid. I was watching this game. I got up. I turned around to like get my coffee or something, and I just hear, and I turn around and I see Sam Hubbard running down the freaking field. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? Like, obviously I saw the freaking the replay, but like, it would have been fun to watch it live. I would have freaked out a lot more, but you know. So yeah, I mean, other than that, it was a good game. Joe Burrow played a good game. Well, he played a decent game for him. You know, 23 for 32, 209, a touchdown. Decent. No turnovers. That's good. Actually, freaking Tyler Huntley outdueled Joe Burrow. So, I mean, the Ravens defense, they played really good. They impressed me.
Joe Mixon couldn't really do much on the ground at all. And on the flip side, the Ravens, they were rushing the ball pretty well, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close game, and really, it was like it reminded me of when the Chargers lost to the Chiefs this year when they had that one turn, or it was like pick six, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just close, so close, neck and neck, and then boom, one turnover changes the whole course
Yeah.
of the game.
And not only that, the Ravens literally almost tied it up with the last play of the game. That tip ball almost landed in the receiver's hands, just only got one hand on it, which was heartbreaking to be a Ravens fan because you guys were literally inches away from tying the game up, taking it to OT, having a chance to take Joe Burrow and the Bengals out. But I think the Bengals should be happy with how well Tyler Huntley played in that game. He stepped
Ravens.
up. Did I say Bengals?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ravens. Excuse me. I think the Ravens should be happy with how well he played in this game. You know,
Yeah.
I think he balled out.
I think they should be happy with that. I think they should be happy with how well their defense played. And I think this is a good learning experience for the Ravens organization because now they're I mean, what do you think? Do you think Lamar gets paid? Do you think he stays in Baltimore?
That one's very tough for me because I feel like the last 2 years have been somewhat inconsistent. I feel like his entire career has been kind of inconsistent with the passing game, but he is an elite talent with his legs. Like there is a lot of stuff that you can run schematically with Lamar Jackson at the helm. But honestly, I'm not sure how reliable this source is or how much validity you want to put into it. But there was an article talking about Harbaugh, talking about Lamar being lazy. And I don't know if I would have to check the validity of the source. But if that's true, there might be some issues between coach and quarterback. And if that's true, then I don't think he gets paid and Lamar might want to step down and look for a career elsewhere.
Interesting. I mean, if I'm the GM, let's take a look at Arizona. You paid Kyler. He doesn't have the good year. I mean, and he really hasn't. I mean, he has had good games. Let's be real. Like, Kyler has had good. I think Kyler and Lamar are very similar to me. I think Kyler's definitely a better passer, but they're both similar in what they can do for your teams. And I think they can. I think they can win games for you, and kind of like hold you back too. And you know, I think personally, if they give Lamar a contract, I think it's because of relationships and feelings. I don't think it's personally the best business decision. I think if he takes a smaller contract, then cool. Like you can roll with Lamar then, but I don't think personally he deserves to be paid like I think he deserves to be paid like a top quarterback, but not the top quarterback because
I don't think he deserves 50 million personally. I think that he deserves in the realm of 30 million because of the injury concern, the inconsistencies. Like ever since his MVP season, he hasn't lived up to the expectation that, you know, the Ravens were hoping for.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
What's the dude from New Orleans name?
Who? The quarterback?
The white boy, number 7.
Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill. I want to see what his contract numbers are because honestly, I feel like I mean, obviously Lamar does a lot more because he starts, but I think 4 years, 40 million, average salary of 10 million. I mean, that's decent.
That's pretty good.
So, I mean, I think a little bit more than that, but I mean, it's just hard. We will see. We'll talk about it more, but I mean, personally, I don't know if he gets paid, and if he do, it might. I mean, they'll definitely be a playoff game or playoff team with Lamar, but a Super Bowl team, I don't know. If anything, because they got to get receivers for him, you know. I don't know. But, you know, a good win for the Bengals. You have a date with Destiny against the Bills. You know, get a rematch, get to settle the score once and for all. And, yeah, it will be a great game. Got anything else to say about this game, Dan?
Nope. Let's move on to the last game Monday night. which will be pretty quick, honestly.
Yes, very quick.
So Dallas traveled to Tampa. Dallas, a 12-5 team, traveling to an 8-9 team because of how the current management of playoffs are by the NFL, which is horseshit in my opinion. This game was a complete blowout.
From the beginning.
From the beginning, yeah. Dak looked good. Dak.
The first two drives from each side looked bad, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a boring as hell game." But then it turned into
punt,
a boring.
and then it was touchdown. I think they had like 4 touchdowns in a row. Yeah, they had 4 touchdowns in a row after 2 punts. But Dak was dialed in, didn't throw any interceptions this game, which was good. I think this might have been one of the best games of his career, especially in a big moment.
He looked really good. I'll admit that. He looked very good.
Dallas's offense was thriving in this game. And, Tampa Bay's defense isn't like it was when they won the Super Bowl by any means. They're dealing with injuries, especially on the offensive side of the ball as well. But, they picked them apart. They got the ground game going a little bit. Tony Pollard looked better than Zeke. Zeke had some tough yardage, but Dalton Schultz looked good. CeeDee Lamb looked really good. Gallup had that great catch in the back of the end zone. Dallas's defense, they just shut out Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay didn't score until the late third, early fourth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was the fourth.
No, late
no,
third.
It was as the third quarter was ending.
Yeah. And then, the game got somewhat entertaining in the last 2 minutes of the game because they score a touchdown, they kick an onside kick, and they recover it. And so Jake and we were going to record early because we're like, oh, this game's over. And then Jake texted me, he's like, I kind of want to watch this. And I was like, dude, I'm kind of down too. And I sent in our group chat, in our fantasy group chat, I'm like, watch this. Deep bomb to Mike Evans, 1-play touchdown. And it was the exact play, except it didn't connect. I would have felt so great if that would have connected because I called the play. It would have been competitive. One play, score a touchdown. You have all your timeouts left. So even if you don't recover the onside kick, you can stop the clock. Hopefully, if you stop them within 20 seconds, have another opportunity, score quick, kick an onside, give yourself an opportunity to kick a field goal. It could have been the most improbable win ever, but unfortunately, Russell Gage ends up getting injured. They had to stop the game for a little bit. That was scary. Neck injury, never a good thing. Hopefully he's okay. So prayers up to Gage.
Can I interject real quick?
Go for it.
Motherfucking Joe Buck, shut the fuck up. This fool was like, oh yeah, it always sucks to hear, or always sucks to see a player go down from a non-contact injury. Motherfucker, did you see this dude's neck or this dude's head? His body was here and his head went over here. How is that a non-contact injury? Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. But, not too much else to say than, the turnover on downs, and then it was just game over. Dallas dominated this game. We'll see what Tom Brady decides to do, whether he returns in Tampa, whether he retires, whether he goes to another team, whether he gets a job as an analyst or sports broadcaster or whatever he does. But, Tom Brady just didn't look good for 3 quarters of this game. He had 1 quarter where he was making plays.
He doesn't look good all season.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, I know that they've been dealing with offensive line piece issues, but Tom's just been off target. If he would have, he had 1 good game this year, and it's when he connected with Mike Evans 3 separate times on the deep ball. That was his best game. Yep. But Tampa Bay is probably going to go to the dark ages, like a couple other teams like the Rams. I still think that they'll be somewhat competitive, but who are they going to have at quarterback? Because I don't think Tom Brady returns, honestly. I think Tom Brady moves on, whether it's retirement, another job, whether it's with another team or as an analyst.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely teams for some reason would still want him. I don't know. Yeah, he's the GOAT, but this season should tell all 32 teams what they need to know about Tom Brady. He could still sling it, but he's got to go to the right situation. He's got to go to the perfect situation. When he went to Tampa Bay in 2020, was it 2020? It was the perfect situation. They had a great line. They had a great defense. great run game, great receivers, and all they needed was a good quarterback, and that's what happened, and they won the Super Bowl. I mean, there's not a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback that are a perfect situation for him. I mean, like the 49ers, but they're not going to go fucking get Tom Brady. I mean, I don't think. Or, I mean, who else would, where would he go? The Raiders? The Raiders, they have a terrible offensive line. They have, they have a good, I mean, they could easily improve it with, a couple free agent pickups and some draft picks, but, I don't know. I mean, he could go to the Raiders.
What if he went to Carolina? Could you imagine? Or the Saints, division rivals.
I mean,
the Jets.
Dude, that would be freaking lit.
If he went to the Jets, okay, just hear me out. If he went to the Jets, I'd be pretty stoked for him because that's a good offensive line, and that is a nasty defense with good offensive weapons, especially with Breece Hall coming back.
Yep. If Breece Hall can come back and do what he did this year for the half of the year he was in, it could be a good situation. We'll guesstimate where Tom Brady will go in the offseason, but real quick back to the Bucks game. The only thing I want to say, yeah, it sucked. I was bored out of my mind. But the best thing about this game was that throw to Julio Jones. That was sexy.
That was a good throw. That was Tom Brady's one good throw. He would have had two if Mike Evans would have caught that pass.
Yes. And then the Cowboys look decent.
Finally breaking their curse. They finally won a playoff game. I think that should be noted. Like, they finally won a playoff game.
Yeah.
After 20-some years.
I think we've been getting it wrong. I think we've been saying a playoff game. I think it's a road playoff game. It hasn't been in 28 years or whatever. So, because Dak Prescott's playoff record is 2-3 now, so he had to win
is
one.
It?
Yeah.
Oh, what the
hell?
So
we've been like,
we've been like just
fake newsing
bashing,
people.
Yeah, fake news bashing. I mean, fuck the Cowboy fans.
Yeah, fuck the Cowboys. No, I mean, honestly, like, it's gonna be a fun game. I'm not like, I mean, it's gonna be a fun game, 49ers Cowboys, but yeah. I mean, that was the Super Wild Card weekend. I don't think it was as exciting as last Wild Card weekend. It was still good, but there's two games and then three sandwiched in between some good games. But yeah, I mean, it will be fun. Divisional round will be a lot more fun. Dane, let's close this out.
Let's do it. Thank you guys for listening so much. We hope that your guys' teams won. If not, look forward to the offseason. Hopefully your teams make some big moves. We'll see what happens with Sean Payton, where he goes. That's probably going to be the biggest offseason head coaching hire, in my opinion. But we'll see, because it's going to cost a lot for him. Appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. The drill. Jake, close us out.
Yeah, thank you for listening. And as always, peace.